I mean, this is Freddie, my bangs. What about this? Yeah. Oh my, I'm doing an Instagram Live, America.
Okay.
How old are you, Chris?
That was asked 48 seconds ago. That is Googleable, by the way. How old is Chris?
Who has the time? Can I have my phone back,
No,
please?
well, what are you doing? We're doing
What
a
if somebody
television
needs
show.
to text me?
Well, oh, yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Anyway, good morning. Thank you for giving me a hard time, as always. Much love I have for the two of you.
Fun night of
Another
NBA playoff basketball.
stellar night of basketball last night. Let's start there. If someone told me that I had to do this entire show wearing a polycarbonate mask with googles and goggles built in, I'd say thanks, I'm good. So I want to be able to see Nick at all times, and that's not going to happen with a mask. Well, Sixer star Joel Embiid didn't love the mask, but he had no choice if he wanted to play last night in Game 3 against the Heat. He was upgraded from doubtful to no doubt before the game. Went in with the mask, scored 23 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, played his first game in over 3 weeks. Looked like he didn't really miss a beat. Sixers win. They take a 2-1 series lead over Miami. At one point, Justice Winslow actually stepped on the mask. Embiid's reaction? Take a listen.
Justice stepped on it and tried to break it with his hands. But little do that know is that I have about 50 of them, so it's going to take much more than that to get me out of this series, and it's going to be a nightmare for them too.
Telling it like it is.
Yes.
All right, so this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see what kind of team this Philadelphia Sixers team could be with all of their firepower in it. Joel Embiid is back. It doesn't look like he was rusty at all. How dangerous could this team be with him back in the lineup?
I mean, the team that we saw last night is a team that can win a championship. Not just win the East, win a championship. That team, Embiid at nearly full strength, Ben Simmons controlling the game with the ball on a string and hitting every three-point shot imaginable, not Ben Simmons, but his teammates. That's a team with that level of defense that is as good as any team in basketball. With that said, after 3 games, the closest a series can be is 2-1. And we do a weird thing in these playoffs where every single game, after game 1, what was a lot of the questions? Is it going to be a sweep? Are teams going to get swept? Like it was.
You have to get used to this television.
Right, exactly.
It's the question is, what about the end?
Right, and so I say all that to say this. There is no real criticism of Philly from last night. The game was close through 40 minutes. It was a 2-point game going into the fourth, and then they did in the fourth quarter what they did to Miami in the entire second half of game 1, which is blow them out and make it look more lopsided than it actually was. But 2-1 after 3, with the home team having a 2-1 lead, is about where you're supposed to be. I'm not ready to anoint Philadelphia as the Eastern Conference champions. What I am ready to say is this, Chris. Their best, we talk a lot about best versus best. Philly's best is, it's not quite the Rockets and Golden State's best, but it might be the next best we have in the league right now.
And the reason why we should look at Philadelphia and talk about them is because if there was a team that said, okay, there's a dark horse team, if there's a team going to surprise people in the playoffs, before the playoffs started, Philadelphia was that team. Doing a lot of talk shows, they were getting a lot of feedback. And we didn't know what they would look like with Joel Embiid. We have to take this in consideration. The guy hadn't played an NBA game in a month. Now, this team has had great success. Now, their back was against the wall. They lost home court. But I knew that Dwayne Wade couldn't have that type of performance, franchise record, number of points off the bench. So with Joel Embiid coming back, even if they had unfortunately lost this game, I would have had a lot of confidence in him because it's him being back added to a team that has a tremendous amount of momentum. And now you can start to look at, because we were watching Philly during the season. We talked about Ben Simmons being Rookie of the Year, Joel Embiid, is he going to be able to stay healthy? We never looked at position by position how the team is put together. And now once you're into the playoffs, you can see, man, this team is dangerous. Because we saw with LeBron against the Pacers. But LeBron, as you go into the playoffs, people won't have an answer for LeBron. But if they got to the finals against Harden or Durant and Steph Curry, they can fight firepower with firepower. The only guy in the playoffs there is no answer for is Joel Embiid. And you talk about the good team surrounding them. They got shooters. They got Ben Simmons, who's playing, I believe, the best basketball of his rookie year. Like, they are a dangerous team.
And they've got, when you talk about the complementary pieces, two of them are guys they got from the Atlanta Hawks after the trade deadline. Bellinelli and Ilyasova. They were bought out by the Hawks. They went to Philadelphia, which, by the way, was a testament to how important it was that Philly had that good January that made them, because those guys go to playoff contending teams. Philadelphia had played well enough in January. Now you look at them post-Christmas, they have the best point differential in all of basketball. They are scoring more compared to their opponent in all of basketball. And when you look at the roster, do they have a dominant big? More than any team in the league other than maybe Anthony Davis? Yes. A floor general, Ben Simmons? Yes. Amazing shooting. The guys I mentioned plus Redick? Yes. And let's not forget, since Christmas, the #2 defense in basketball. They are right now checking all of the boxes.
With the best defensive player.
Oh, and Joel Embiid, and one of the best defensive guards in Ben Simmons.
Let's talk about Embiid for a second. Give him a little credit. The reason he was questionable for Game 3 was because you really wanted to avoid contact with his face. Well, this was a very physical game. There were 56 personal fouls combined here. He didn't take himself out of any kind of like contact situation. He went right in and he attacked and he played really well. It didn't look like he missed a beat. It looked like he fit right back into the team.
He did fit in. He fit in nice and slow. The one thing you talk about the shooters they have, one thing, they got 3 bigs that can live on the three-point line. So you talk about the style for which they want to play. Joel Embiid can be in the three-point line. We saw late in the fourth quarter, he pulled a diagonal 3 that you're not going to see a 7-footer be able to take that type of shot. So I believe they can have a special season. I believe that they're a special collection of young players. And now when you start to look at the other pieces, how they play, and I believe that their coach is really underrated also. So it's going to be interesting to see how this series goes on, how long it lasts.
And I don't, again, it's 2-1. It's not 3-0. The series that are done we'll talk about them later. The Pelican series is over. The Warriors series is over. They're up 3-0. We know that. The series that are 2-1 could go 6, could go 7, and the underdog could still win.
What about this one?
But this is a missed opportunity for Miami last night in this regard. They won't shoot this well from 3 the rest of the series. They won't have another 50%, 16 made threes game all series. They're down 2 headed into the fourth, and it's right there for them, and they end up getting blown out.
One thing you have to watch for too, and I'm going to be in South Florida this weekend. A young team in South Florida, they had a huge win on a Thursday night. It's so typical you can fall into it. Miami the city is awake all night. On the Thursday night, what did the team do last night? And this weekend, because they're playing an afternoon game on Saturday. So do they take the proper amount of rest? Do they realize that game number 4 is the most important game of their careers? If they're able to do that, because I have seen teams through the years in Miami, season ticket holder, guys hanging out in Miami, even in playoff series, guys not getting the proper amount of rest. So let's watch this young team. Let's see what they do, because it can be a distraction. It's just something, as we go through the weekend, that I'm going to watch.
And you mention a young team. I have used as the comparison for Philadelphia. One of the reasons that while I think 2 months ago I said if you told me the Cavs don't make the finals, who does? I didn't say Boston. I didn't say Toronto. I said Philadelphia. But the comparison I've used is the 2010 Thunder. Harden, Russ, KD, their first year in the playoffs. They fought the eventual champion Lakers tough, end up losing in the first round. Man, I watched them last night, and I started to think maybe the better comparison is the 95 Magic. They had no experience. They had no vet. Their best players were Shaq and Penny in years 3 and 2. They didn't know what they didn't know, and they went to the NBA Finals. Sometimes talent just overrides experience. And Penny, very similar to Ben Simmons. And when you talk about there not being an answer for a big man, Shaq was the original, at least of the modern era. There's no answer for that big man.
Yeah, and also let's look who they're going against. Toronto, all their experience is bad experience. LeBron, him and Kevin Love, the only 2 that got experience. Those other guys, the experience that they had, they don't have a whole bunch of experience. So this might be the type of year that an inexperienced team can get to the finals.
Tough game for Dwayne Wade. Did anyone see a Gabrielle Union tweet last night?
No, I wonder if the previous tweet led to the tough game.
Maybe it was a little too much celebrating after that previous tweet.
You got old man legs.
Coming up, I don't know if you need them. Could Dez join Odell on the Giants? Is that even a possibility? That's next on First Things First. Can I get my phone back?
Nope.